Hey guys, and welcome to my review of Spider-Man 3. I'm just kidding, still working on it. I'm actually here to talk about the MCU's newest show, Wonder Man. Marvel released all episodes at once, and I actually decided to binge watch the entire show when it came out, so I can get my review out as soon as possible. Now, going into this show, I knew next to nothing about the Wonder Man character from the comics, but based on what I've gathered, the TV show seemed like it was going in a way different direction than the comics. In the comics, Wonder Man is the alias of Simon Williams, who works with the Avengers. He's an actual real superhero. But the show is a lot different. You see, in the continuity of the MCU, Wonder Man is a fictional superhero character that had a movie released in the 1980s. But now they're doing a remake of the movie, and Simon Williams, who watched the 1980s film as a kid, wants to audition to play Wonder Man in this new remake. But the thing is, Simon in the MCU continuity still has powers, but part of the problem is that he has to hide his powers from the public because Hollywood doesn't allow superheroes. So that's the premise of the Wonder Man show. Simon Williams is an aspiring actor trying to make his way in Hollywood and auditions for the role of Wonder Man. Trevor Slattery also returns in this show from Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi, who's been arrested for not completing his prison sentence. Instead of going back to jail, Trevor is given the option to work with Damage Control and get information for them because they believe Simon Williams is very dangerous. Now, I wasn't particularly looking forward to this show as a result of not being familiar with the character, but after the show initially premiered, it got really good reviews, with people saying it's a refreshing show when it comes to superhero fatigue, and I did think the concept had potential. So was Wonder Man wonderful? Well, there's certainly aspects of this show that I would say is wonderful. It's a good show, for the most part. There's problems I have, but overall I ended up enjoying it a lot. It's certainly not your typical MCU show, and if you're expecting it to be Simon Williams using his powers to fight bad guys, you're gonna be disappointed. And quite frankly, at this point, why would you want another show like that? I understand why they didn't do that, given all the Disney Plus mediocrity we've gotten in the past 5 years. This show really doesn't feel like a superhero show. Yes, Simon does have powers, but like I said, he has to hide them if he wants to pursue acting. The superhero aspect of the show is far and few between the acting parts. It's really a show about what an actor has to go through in order to land a role. One of the best things I can say about the show is how it portrays a struggling actor, and I think Simon's actor, Yala Abdul Mateen II, deserves a lot of credit for that. I think his performance is what makes you really feel for what Simon's going through. He's able to show through his performance how much the part of Wonder Man means to him. A great example is that part in the finale when he thinks he blew it and Damage Control is coming for him, but he's just talking to his mom on the phone trying to assure her that everything is okay. That scene is a big highlight for me. I also have to give credit to Ben Kingsley, who plays Trevor Slattery. I was surprised how much I enjoyed him as this character, given that I wasn't the biggest fan of his appearance in Shang-Chi, but I really enjoyed the relationship between Simon and Trevor. I also like the way Trevor redeems himself in the end and takes the fall for Simon when his powers start causing problems. I want to particularly mention episode 3 specifically, which I think is the best episode of the show. This is the episode where Trevor accompanies Simon to his mom's birthday when Damage Control forces him to wear a wire. Not only is it funny to watch Trevor try to get stories from Simon's family members, but the episode also displays great conflict between Simon and his brother. The performances are outstanding, and it's also shot really well. Easily the highlight of the whole show. Episode 4 was also really interesting. This episode showcases the backstory of Damar Davis and why Hollywood doesn't want superpowered individuals involved in movie or TV shows. Basically, Damar is a doorman at a nightclub and ends up with the ability to act as a human portal. Anything that goes inside him ends up coming out a different place. He initially uses it to save the people at the nightclub from a fire, and thanks to Josh Gad, who is actually playing himself in the show, he uses the doorman shtick to get success in Hollywood. But this ends up being a problem when his powers end up fucking up, causing Josh Gad to be permanently stuck inside of him. And the funniest part is that this doesn't end up being resolved, which pretty much means Olaf from Frozen is dead within the MCU's continuity. That is fucking hilarious, so I applaud them for that dark comedy. The episode in general is pretty funny, such as the cash grab movie and the ding dong motherfucker line. Episode 4 almost felt like a toned down episode of The Boys. Now this is followed by what's probably my least favorite episode, so now I'll transition into my negatives. Episode 5 is about this kid who ends up capturing video footage of Simon using his powers, so Simon and Trevor spend the episode trying to get the footage. It's not horrible, there's parts I enjoyed, but I just didn't really think it mattered much in the grand scheme of things. Also, this really isn't a huge problem, but in regard to the doorman thing, I do think it's a little nonsensical that Damar gets his powers from toxic waste that ends up turning into a portal, which brings him to an alternate dimension.
Right.
I have no idea if this character is in the comics, but I just think it's extremely random. Again, it's not a big deal. Of course, I still like this episode, but it's just something I wanted to poke fun at. The only other big problem I have is the finale. Now, please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I did not hate this finale, and the problems I do have are not the same ones I've had with most other Disney Plus finales. Although, ironically, I will say that just like so many other finales, it ends with Simon getting a new costume. But again, that's not my problem with it. I completely understand that in the case of this show, a new costume in the finale was pretty much unavoidable. He's auditioning for the part of a superhero, so obviously he's gonna suit up in the finale when he gets the part. So unlike MCU shows in the past, Wonder Man gets a pass here. I also already mentioned Trevor taking the fall for Simon, and the moment of Simon talking to his mom on the phone. I love that aspect of this finale. My problem is the second half. You see, this finale has two parts to it. The first half is everything I just mentioned and shows Simon at the premiere of the new Wonder Man movie. But then it suddenly cuts to black, and then cuts to another location. The entire rest of the episode is dedicated to Simon sneaking into the damage control facility, and it ends with Simon using his powers to break Trevor out of prison. My problem with this is that, one, it kind of feels tacked on last minute, and two, well, it just kind of puts the characters back to where they were before. Damage Control is now going to be going after Trevor to arrest him again, and they have to know that it was Simon who broke him out, so that pretty much blows his cover when it comes to Hollywood. Doesn't that kind of defeat the whole point of the first half of this episode? Also, you have that same damage control agent who was in Spider-Man No Way Home and Ms. Marvel doing the same thing here. Nothing against the actor who plays him, but I am starting to get a little annoyed when I see him now. It's like they do the same thing with him every time he appears. Oh no, there's a dangerous, superpowered individual somewhere and we have to find them. It just feels tired at this point. However, in the end, despite some issues I had, I would recommend Wonder Man if you're someone who's wanting something new from the Disney Plus shows. The performances are really what carry the show a lot of the time, and it's also got some good humor. It's far from my favorite MCU show, but like I said, it is different and has a lot going for it. Easily way better than most of the other Disney Plus shows, with few exceptions. I'm gonna give Wonder Man an 8 out of 10. So yeah, I'm sure everyone is shocked that Arron Unpopular Opinion Turner mostly agrees with the majority for once. And I guess the only other thing I can say is, damn, that new Born Again Season 2 poster looks delicious!